So the little known aspect Prashant was referring to was Oracle and open source. A couple of disclaimers. No, we are not an open source software company. We still charge fee for the licenses. But yes, we do give some of the software free, right? So what is that we are doing in open critical for any enterprise these days, right? So in the next 15 minutes, I've set my timer. The time starts now. So what I'm going to do is quickly walk you through Oracle's strategy in open source, what we are doing, and how we are giving multiple choices to our customers. So first of all, let's understand what's open source that you see for any open source software. It is freely distributed. The source code must be included or freely available. All the derived works, whatever enhancement you do on this open source software must be allowed. And it should be distributed under the open source initiative licenses. And there are a few other features or, purely semantics, do's and don'ts of that. It says that the trademarks and the patents should not be restricted. And it's not a shareware or a freeware, where, shareware, freeware still doesn't share the source code with anyone. So this is the general definition of open source. So what's Oracle's view of open source? We think it is just a name given to a community of developers or organizations who are developing software and distributing the software under various licenses, right? So please feel free to, think differently than what I'm saying. This is purely Oracle's opinion, right? Because we think that open source software company or open source software community is no different from any of the private source software company or private source software community. And I'll tell you why as I move along the slides. So we also believe that this open source software movement is not a business model in itself. But having said that, we have seen successful business models that is being built around this open source movement, right? Quite a few of them. Linux is a classic example, Office, ORG is another classic examples. So very good business models have been built around open source, but by itself it's not a business model. So what are we into? As I said, we definitely are not into open source software, right? But we build technology, infrastructure technology products like the database, the middleware, and various other tools that helps companies build infrastructure. We also develop and distribute business applications which cut horizontally, like ERP, the CRM, the supply chain, and also some of those industry specifics which will fit into, let's say, a telco or a central state government or a manufacturing industry, financial services industry. And these products are licensed, or it's also available as hosted services, whatever name you give it, ASP or the latest cloud, whatever. We have been doing this before the word cloud was invented, and our stance on cloud is it's no different from what we have been doing some 6-7 years ago, right? So yes, in today's parlance, we offer them on cloud as well. So we strive to meet the customer requirements by lowering the IT cost, by ensuring interoperability, integration, and then support all these business applications for our customers. We drive and implement industry standards. Now, there are two things here. There is one open source, and then there is this open standards, right? And for us, open standards is very, very critical. And open source also gives us another alternate open standards. Any open source, if it doesn't comply to open standards, is useless according to us. So whether it's open source software or private source software, unless it is on open standards, it is virtually useless for anyone. So we offer customer a choice, right? Both private and open source. As you can see, it's just not the Linux that we talk about. We have our products that works on Windows, Unix, Solaris, a whole lot of other things. It's just not Eclipse, right? We also have our JDeveloper, a wonderful tool. And as I said, we also give some software free. It's not that every software that we have is chargeable. Examples are Berkeley DB, our middleware, Fusion middleware, Java Edition, our Oracle database, Express Edition. All these things are freely downloadable and you can use it. And if you want to license them, there is a way of licensing them as well. So today, as Prashant was mentioning, we are probably one of the only company that has got a complete integrated stack right from operating system and up to the enterprise manager level. Now, you might be wondering why there isn't a disk. Obviously, for some legal reasons, I can't say that I have a disk as well, because we have not completely integrated with Sun as a legal entity. So once that happens, probably no other vendor can give you this complete disk to application type of an integrated stack, but for Oracle. Now, that brings a whole lot of benefits for our customers, because you get standard components, because as I said, we strive to drive these industry standards and we implement them. So our customers get these industry standard components that are interoperable. Because we offer the entire stack, right from the operating system layer to the management layer, our releases are going to be synchronized. There is no question of, oh, the database doesn't work with the application. No, that doesn't happen. So you get an integrated stack that works always. Greater security, higher availability. These are all some of the benefits that the customers can drive from us. So what's Oracle and in the open ecosystem? We have been seeing that our customers are deploying our products alongside open source, right? So when open source started, everyone was talking about MySQL and all that stuff. But Gartner report still said that never eroded our market share. We still continues to grow. Our database market share still continues to grow, right? We believe that open source, private source, open standards, all these things coexist. They all coexist. And we ourselves, we adopt, integrate, develop, distribute, and service all these open source products, right? Why do we do that? Because you people here value those services or those integrated and supported application that works all the time. And that is why we are in this particular open source space. So bottom line, it's business as usual for us. Whatever they call open source, closed source, it's business as usual, and we want to compete best meeting the customer requirements. If you say you want to deploy open source, we are open. You want to say you want to deploy our products with private source, we are available. That's the multiple choice that we give to our customers. Just look at the market leadership in the open source space. Now this report here might look a bit outdated, but the numbers haven't changed much in the last 2 years. When this was done, this particular result was done, the RDBMS numbers by operating systems, right? So that particular year, Gartner forecasted or predicted or reported 14.2% RDBMS growth year on year. And in this, RDBMS growth on Linux was the fastest growing. It was around 67%. And Oracle's RDBMS Linux grew faster than the market growth at 72%, primarily or basically dominating the entire Linux space with an 82.6% market share. Now it's not trivial for us, by the way, because that translates to $1.95 billion worth of license sales on Linux RDBMS, right? More than 30% of our business applications are shipped with Linux. More than 50% of our middleware products are shipped on Linux. And this is why our association with this open source, or primarily with Linux, has been long-standing. We have been associated with Linux since 1998 when we released our first commercial database on Linux, right? In 1999, we invested in multiple Linux startup companies. Red Hat, Miracle, these are all Linux startups. In 2002, we contributed the first, cluster file system for Linux. This cluster file system is the key enabling technology for Linux grids. Right? Today, in the current data center situation scenarios, these cluster files systems have really helped the data centers to scale up into large-scale grids. And it was a completely developed product that Oracle gave it to the open source community, right? The expectation is that the other brighter minds will develop this cluster file system and make it much more robust than what it is already. We sponsored the Linux certification, enterprise class support for Linux. So these are some of the significant open source contributions that we have made. Just now I told you about the cluster file system. Right? These cluster file system are fully developed, technology enabler for Linux grids. We have given it to the open source. BT